Okay, it's Monday, October 10th, and this is a SPY recap to start the week. You can see here on the daily chart, we end up with a red day that stayed below the midpoint of the prior day and worked its way to a new low. Didn't quite reach, the weekly target yet, but we'll get to that in a second. In terms of just the structure of the day, we had the pre-market range starting to the upside. We were buys to the downside, and you can see right out of the gate, you had the 15-minute bar heading down. So that was kind of a signal to give it a shot to see if we worked to the low end of the range, which it did. The question is how you interpreted it. Was it going to be one push down and then a pause and a second push down for the morning move of the day, or do you want to call this a move, kind of a big pause? So this was move one, this was more of a orderly pullback, and then a push two to new lows. So it's not surprising whether you consider this the second push and you consider that the morning trade, or this was the second push. You're not going to always get much more than that, and that's why you can get a big rally like this, to kind of end the day, but still close with an overall red bar. I also think there is in play psychologically. I think if you think back to last week when we gapped up big, this was like an 800 point down day, and then it followed by another 800 point down day. People thought we made the lows of the year and we're heading up. So I'm sure there are people thinking as we come down here, it's an opportunity to get in again near the point where it bounced up the last time. So you might get a little consolidation in here before you head lower. And quite frankly, if that happens, that would be a positive for the downside, because you'll be trapping a lot of people who are buying down here thinking this is the low of the year. And, then if it comes down, it can stop them out and fuel, some additional momentum to the downside. But in terms of what's developing, we still have the shooter bar from last week that made a new low today. So technically we made the new low, and that targets us down to this low of 2 weeks ago. And the monthly chart, being that we closed red today, is now in a red mode. So, now we're still continuity wise looking for a continuation from this month lower towards these targets that I mentioned in the pre-open video. So everything's still in play to do that. The question is, tomorrow, do we continue right out of the gates lower, or are we going to get a lot of this choppiness kind of down by the previous lows in here? People nervous, people thinking they're getting in again, ready for this bounce up. Maybe it'll bounce a little bit. We still have a gap, so to speak, between the low of this bar and the high of this bar, which kind of shows you we could rally up here before turning lower. So we're just going to have to go day by day on that basis, see where the pre-market range is tomorrow, see how that evolves relative to the midpoint of yesterday. As long as we stay below that, we're still probably going to look lower. If somehow we might have a rally day on Tuesday, you never know. You will have to see. But until this weekly chart really changes, which to me now, since we made a 2 down month, you'd have to close green in some form next week, by the end of the week, and then have a 2 up bar into next week. Until that really changes, I'm still going to be biased to the downside, even if we have a couple of up days of trading possibly. But eventually, if we do have some up days of trading, we can't reach our targets, which would mean we fail inside this gap, because if we go 2 up tomorrow, that's our target. And if we can't reach there, because that's kind of above this low of the other, of the gap, let's say we go up there and then can't reach it and then go 2 down, that's going to be real exciting to get long, to really look for that follow through to those lower targets. So either we're going to get it, continuing tomorrow and the rest of the week, or we might get some pausing first. We'll find out. But the buys are still down. And today, again, was a pretty straightforward day to trade to the downside, especially within my methodology of wanting to generally take trades on the first move of the day early in the morning. And then a lot of times I just quit for the day. So we'll see what happens. But, down day today and down bias still until something changes.